Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing a little impromptu video and I'm going to be comparing the Nextorch L10 Max with the Nextorch T20L. These are both LEP flashlights that I own. Very similar in terms of the technology, but there are some significant differences. So stick around and I'll go through all those differences so that you can decide what's best for you, especially if you're thinking about getting an LEP, because the Nextorch L10 Max is your standard sort of one, about 400 lumens, whereas the T20L has 900 lumens, quite a high output LEP flashlight. So stick around also to the end. I will go through some beam shots so you can see how they both perform. So what's included with both these flashlights? Now they both come with the battery and the charging cable. They use 21700 cell batteries, 4800 milliamp hour batteries as well. So they have significant runtime in both the flashlights, especially if you're using it on mid to low mode. On high, I think you're probably going to get about 1.5 to 2 hours use, probably more on this one. I have done reviews on both these flashlights, so you can get a bit more information about the run times on those reviews. You also get the instruction manual included. You get 2 Nextorch lanyards. The T20L comes with a nice pocket clip here, belt clip. It's not very rigid as well. I find that there's not too much give in there. I actually prefer that, especially with a larger flashlight such as this one. You also get the USB-C charging cable included with the L10 Max. It just connects onto a port here. So we undo it and you can see that port, very easy to access. And on the T20L, there is a proprietary plug there, okay, but that actually connects onto USB. These days, I tend to charge my flashlights via external charger. But it's good to know that you can charge the battery directly in the flashlight for both of these models. So in terms of construction, I've said this many times before, but Nextorch really do so well with the overall construction, the machining of their flashlights, as well as the anodization, the machining. I mean, if you just look at the cutouts in there, they're so clean, and the attention to detail, you don't see any nicks or any imperfections in the finish in both the L10 Max and the T20L. I think the T20L is a little step above because you've got details such as this stainless steel bezel. You've got the anti-roll feature as well here. You can see extra cutouts in the back and the tail cap. The anodization, I'd say, is very similar though. It's a nice, smooth, matte black finish, very, very resistant to hits, knocks, and the such. I keep these both in my bag with other flashlights at times, with them knocking against each other. And having a look at some other flashlights, they've got some dents in them, but I can't find any scratches or anything on these two. So really excellent quality. A step above in terms of their anodizing and overall construction. Now, you can't actually disassemble both these flashlights. If you try to unscrew the heads, doesn't work. They've got them locked down so that you can't get into the laser there, probably for safety reasons, so that you don't go ahead and blind yourself or damage it. The only thing you can undo is just the tail cap on both the flashlights to remove the batteries. So for those of you looking to modify flashlights, you're going to have a tough time doing it here. I've never heard of anyone modifying an LEP flashlight though. I don't think that's really applicable in these particular situations, more for LED flashlights. Now, speaking of which, these ones have a shine through module, which means that you have the phosphor at the front and the laser at the back, and the laser basically shines through the phosphor, illuminating it and creating a white visible light beam. But you have other LEPs that run off blue laser. They use a mirror system in there, produces extra throw, but the beam is not as nice as these shine through modules. It's very hard to see what's going on in there, but the phosphor is a round configuration in there, so you do get a very nice crisp round shape. Very difficult to see in there, but they both use similar technologies in here. Both have convex lenses, okay? The only difference is that this one here, the T20L, has a nice glass cover on top. So if, you're not going to risk scratching that lens or anything like that. Good thing though with the L10 Max is that the lens is recessed, so it doesn't stick out the front, so you're not going to really risk scratching it if you drop it or something like that, unless you directly hit it. But that's something to consider. You get that extra level of protection. Very simple black bezel on this one. Here you've got a stainless steel bezel, and I like that simplified classic look on the T20L. Just that extra attention to detail is really good. In terms of the size comparison, you can have a look at them both side by side here. The L10 Max, significantly smaller, and especially for something that you want to fit in your pocket, this is more suitable for EDC carry. 15.5 centimeters for the L10 Max, and for the T20L, about 18.3 centimeters long. So look, they're not too different in terms of length, but where you've got the main difference is just the head. So you're not going to be able to fit this one in your jeans pocket, maybe be able to fit it in a jacket pocket or something like that, more so clipped to your belt. When I was out doing beam shots, I found that the belt clip was very useful indeed. It has extra rigidity to it, which I think is necessary when you're looking at such a heavy flashlight. Comparing the top of the flashlight, the bezels, you got about 3.4 centimeters diameter there, and the Nextorch T20L 5.5 centimeters in diameter, so quite a difference there. In terms of the UIs, let's have a look. So with the T20L, one thing to remember is that in order to turn on the flashlight, you actually have to press and hold the on button for 2 seconds. Then the light will activate. To turn it off, you got to press and hold as well. This was something that annoyed me a bit at the start, but I've gotten used to and actually quite like it now. It makes the UI a bit simpler so that you don't have to worry about a lockout function, especially when you've got the button right on the front of the flashlight like this. Nextorch also do some tactical style LEP flashlights similar to the L10 Max that have the button on the back. Now this is going to be quite useful if you're basically want to access that turbo mode straight from that back switch, a momentary turbo. So once you have that flashlight on, and I'll turn it on for a moment, you'll see it's on turbo, and then you can just click it again to medium, click again to low, click again for strobe, and then it just cycles through different modes. Click and hold, and it turns off. It's that simple. And I do see some lights have lockout functions. This is not required in a light that takes a bit of time to turn on as you hold the flashlight. It took me some time to get used to it, but I like the simplicity of it. And also, if you want to lock out the flashlight, you can unscrew the back a 1/8 turn, and there you go. Look, it doesn't turn on anymore. So I actually have that as a safety function every time I stick it in my bag or even storing it. Now with the T20L, different story here. You have a tactical switch on the back that links directly to the turbo when you press it halfway. You can't change that, so you press it there and then it links to turbo. Double tap and you get a strobe, turbo strobe. If you depress that button fully so it turns on, goes straight to turbo, then you can half press it, medium, half press again, low, half press again, strobe, and then it cycles through the different modes. But keep in mind, as you switch off the light, it just goes straight to turbo. I think that's a good feature because when you're using LEPs, when I use them anyway, I find that I want that highest power setting on short notice. I don't have to cycle through all the different modes to get to that highest mode. So being able to access that turbo mode just from that half press makes it so much easier to use, and a true tactical LEP flashlight. I really like the functionality of this switch as well, so that you can access these different modes through the switch. Some of these tactical switches are a little bit annoying because you can cycle through the modes using the switch, and as a consequence you can accidentally activate other modes that you don't want. I think Nextorch have done a good job by simplifying the interface from off and having the mode changes while the button is fully on. One thing you'll notice as soon as you open the back of the T20L is that the battery is facing the opposite direction. There's polarity protection in this flashlight as well, and I think it has something to do with that tactical switch, as you can see here. Yeah, it's just part of the design. You're not going to be able to use any flat top batteries in there. I'd find they're just not long enough to create a strong enough contact point with this contact here on the tail switch. So yeah, you're going to need to use button top ones and ones that potentially have a protection circuit to add a couple of millimeters on. I've not tried a button top 21700 without protection. I don't have one actually, so I wouldn't know if they actually work or not, but I have tried it with some flat top ones and they don't make proper connection, causing some flickering issues. So good thing is that Nextorch include batteries with both of these flashlights, so you don't have any problem there. Just use the stock ones. Same battery here as well in the L10 Max. The only difference is that it is facing in the downwards, normal downward direction. So charging very easily, as I said before. You can plug them into the USB here at the back, or the little jack here in the back of the T20L to take a couple hours, 2-3 hours to charge. I actually use an external charger. Makes things a bit easier because I charge up all my batteries at the same time for different flashlights. So that's about it in terms of the batteries and general charging. Now, talking about performance now, you're going to want to know the difference between the lumens. I did mention before, but this produces 437 lumens. This one actually 981 lumens, according to quite a few previous reviews. One thing I find straight away when using both these flashlights is that the hotspot for the T20L is significantly larger than the L10 Max. The L10 produces like a thinner sort of beam, pretty bright, but yeah, you get a larger spot for the T20L, and it's also twice as bright. So from a distance, it's very noticeable and it illuminates a much larger area. LEPs are known more to just illuminate a very, very small area brightly, but this I've found is comparable to my Convoy L8 in terms of the general hotspot in the center. With a lot of LEPs, I find that they are between the 3, 4, 500 lumen range. The T20L is the only LEP on the consumer market with the single lens available that actually produces 900 plus lumens, so very impressive. You do see there are a couple of other lights out there. There's one LEP light that actually has 2 heads on them, and it produces 1,300 lumens, but very clunky. And we're looking more at single lens flashlights. If you've got 2 on there, you might as well be carrying around 2 different LEPs and joining them together. So that's it in terms of generally the beam profile, the output. Both of these flashlights do ramp down after using them for a few minutes. So you will get to about 200 to 300 lumens on each of these later on, or even in the high 100 lumen range. They just ramp down to protect the flashlight from overheating, and the electronics as well. Very common in any kind of flashlight. What I like is that they have the low to medium modes as well, which allow you to extend out the battery if necessary. In terms of practicality, I think the T20L has more functions, especially if you're using it for search and rescue, or you're using it for spotting, hunting, that kind of thing. You have that tactical switch on the back. You've got the belt clip here. You've got different functionalities as well that are easily accessible once you press that tail switch. It's just a more immediately accessible UI, whereas this one you got to press and hold to turn off. So I would say this one is overall more practical. It's larger, but you just have more functionality, more options to rely on here. In terms of the L10 Max, it's going to be more easy to pocket, but obviously you're lacking some of those additional functions that are present in the T20L. So what do I recommend? If you're just a beginner to LEP flashlights, the L10 Max is one of the best valued LEPs you can get out there in the market, and the construction of it is just so good for what you get. I'd recommend that if you're looking to get into LEP flashlights. Best bang for buck there. The Nextorch T20L throws an extra kilometer to the L10 Max, but you still get that LEP throw with this flashlight. It's very impressive for its size. I like that it has a high capacity battery in there as well, so if you are using it for long periods of time, you're not having to worry about charging it constantly. Again, if you're using this more for a profession, or you want something that's more easily accessible in terms of the turbo mode, not having to hold down the button and things like that, the UI for the T20L, in my opinion, it beats the L10 Max. I love these tactical switches and tactical flashlights. So if you have any questions on both of these lights, let me know in the comments below. I'll get back to you, and let me know if you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you click the like button so that I can get my videos out to more people. And if you want to see some more of my reviews, want to see me create some more reviews, make sure you subscribe. T20L. The L10 Max now. Together. Nextorch L10 Max. Nextorch T20L. It's the only one that manages to hit that bridge or whatever on the far end. T20L. L10 Max. L10 Max. Nextorch L10 Max. Nextorch T20L. L10 Max. T20L. T20L. L10 Max. L10 Max.